So this is geared towards beginners, but no matter where you are in your journey, this is going to be helpful to you. So let's go and get straight into it. This is going to be an IT for beginners course, but no matter where you are, like I said before, in your journey, it's going to be definitely helpful. So let's get straight into it. So if you never, ever seen me before, I'm Rob. I'm originally from Detroit. I'm a former U.S. Army Staff Sergeant, and now I help people get rewarding tech careers. Why should you listen to me? For one, I'm a veteran. I fought for your freedom. I'm a former Staff Sergeant. I've taught over 15,000 people. I have 12 industry certifications. I have an MBA in information technology, and I'm just an all around good guy. So, as far as the ITF Plus, right? What is the ITF Plus? So the ITF Plus is a certification that is by a vendor called CompTIA. So CompTIA is the leader in the industry when it comes to tech and when it comes to tech certifications. So the CompTIA ITF Plus certification is an entry level certification, and it's a great certification for students that are kind of exploring a career in IT, people that want to switch to a career in IT, but just not sure if it's for them or if they don't feel like they have the basics and the fundamentals. Also, professionals in a non technical role who just need to work with IT teams and want to transition into a more tech role, right? So, the last but not least, this is an awesome precursor for higher level certifications like A plus. So most of my students in the Zero to IT Hero program, they go through ITL plus, and the pass rate for A plus usually shoots through the roof. So the ITL plus has 75 questions. There's going to be multiple choice. You got 60 minutes to knock off those 75 questions. Now, it's a maximum of 75 questions, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to get 75 questions, but a maximum of 75 questions. All right. So the passing score is 650 out of 900. All of the CompTIA exams are always on a scale out of 900. So right now, we're going to actually go into the actual practice questions, right? I want to get you guys into critical and analytical thinking so you will be, well versed when it comes to knocking these questions out. Now, this is going to be a really good barometer, a really good gauge for you to know exactly where you are. Right now, I want you to put in the comments, are you a beginner? Are you mid-level? Or are you an expert? If you are mid-level or an expert and you get any of these questions wrong, you are a beginner, okay? If you get any of these questions wrong, you are a beginner, and this is going to prove that. All right. So just make sure at least that you get 80% of these right. If you get 10 or more wrong, you really need to, work and hone in on your skills. This is just foundational stuff. And I think a lot of times people, when they think about fundamentals, when they think about the basics, they think about easy stuff. But as complex as Texas, not Texas, God damn it, but as complex as tech is right now, um, the basics are a lot more complex than you would think they would be. Okay. So we're going to be going through all of the domains inside of the ITL Plus exam. And we're just going to be pulling questions from each thing, right? So the first couple questions are going to be super easy, and then we're going to ramp it up from there. Make sure that you are following along and answering the questions, taking notes, so on and so forth. So first question, which of the following best describes the function of a CPU? A, it stores data permanently. B, connects a computer to the internet. C, executes instructions from programs. D, provides power to hardware. What do we think? So all of you guys should have picked, move this up here. All of you guys should have picked C, executes instructions from programs. So the CPU is just the brain. It is the most important part in the computer, and it does all the processing and executes instructions from software and performs calculations and manages processes. Next up, which numbering system is commonly used in computing and consists of zeros and ones? Is it A, decimal? Is it B, binary? Is it C, hexadecimal? Or is it D, octal? So for ones and zeros, we're going to be talking about binary, right? So computers use a binary system, and it's based on electric circuits that operate in two states, either on, represented by 1, or off, represented by 0. Which of the following best defines an IP address? A hardware identifier unique to each device, a temporary address assigned by the OS, a numerical label assigned to devices in a network, a code used to encrypt data. So an IP address is a unique identifier that allows devices to communicate over the network. Now let's talk about infrastructure, right? We were talking about just regular terms and concepts. Now we're going to get into infrastructure. What is the main function of RAM in a computer? Is it storing files permanently? Is it running multiple programs at once? Is it connecting external devices? Or is it processing network requests? What is the purpose of RAM? So the purpose of RAM is running multiple programs at once. So random access memory temporarily stores whatever you're working on, whatever you're doing on RAM, allowing you to access whatever you're doing quickly. Which cable type is commonly used to connect a computer to a wired network? Is it A, HDMI, B, USB, C, Ethernet, or D, SATA? So the answer to this is C. Whether it's Cat5 or Cat6, Ethernet cables provide network connections for faster and more stable internet connections. Now, and we're going to do a few more questions like this, but if you are stumbling and fumbling on any of these questions, you definitely need to hone in on your skills. And then, like I said, if you're a beginner, most likely you should know any of this. But if you had a feeling that you were anything above that and you got any of these wrong, we got to knock you down a notch, man. All right. Which type of software allows the operating system to communicate with hardware components? Is it A, application software, B, system software, C, device drivers, or D, firmware? What do we think? So you guys should already know that the answer for this is going to be C, device drivers. So device drivers are software programs that enable you to use devices with your software. It basically tells your computer, your laptop, whatever you're using, that, hey man, this is what I am and this is how we work together. So if it's printers, graphics cards, or USB or peripherals. Which of the following file types is commonly used for document storage? .exe, .mp3, .pdf, .jpg. So for this, it is definitely going to be C for PDF. So PDF is widely used for storing and sharing documents because it maintains formatting across devices. What is an algorithm in computing? Is it a computer virus, a process or set of rules to solve a problem, a programming language, a type of database? So algorithm in computing and just in general is just a step-by-step process for solving problems or performing tasks in computing. Which of the following is an interpreted programming language? C++, Java, Python, or assembly? You guys should already know that an interpreted language out of those options is going to be Python. So Python is an interpreted language. It just means that it's executed line by line rather than compiled into a machine code beforehand. Let's talk about database stuff. What is the purpose of a primary key in a database? To encrypt stored data, to ensure each record is unique, to allow unlimited duplication of data, to store multimedia files. So this is just to make sure that every record is unique. So it identifies each record in a database table, preventing duplicate entries. Which of the following is the most effective method to secure an online account? A, using the same password for all accounts. B, enabling two-factor authentication. C, writing passwords on paper. Or D, disabling security updates. What do we think? So for sure, enabling two-factor authentication means that you got to do two things, got to know two things, got to have two things. You got to have two varying things to authenticate and ensure that you are who you say you are. For example, requiring a password and a second verification method, such as a code sent to your phone. What is the primary purpose of a firewall? To detect viruses on a computer, to prevent unauthorized network access, to store user passwords, or to optimize internet speed. So the primary purpose of a firewall is to prevent unauthorized access. So a firewall monitors and controls incoming and outgoing network traffic based on security rules, acting as a barrier between a trusted and an untrusted network. All right, now we're going to get into the nitty gritty. So the rest of the questions are going to be scenario based, right? So that was just a warm up. That was just some just to see, just to gauge where you are. So these are going to be a lot more difficult. Okay. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, the Zero to IT Hero program, a program that I founded and I created that's helped thousands of people transition to tech by getting the right skills, the right certs, and getting the right mindset to break into tech. Now, there's going to be a link in the description for the Zero to IT Hero program and also a link to our practice question bank that has over 4,000 practice questions. So if you're taking ITF Plus, A Plus, Network Plus, or Security Plus, it'll get you more than ready with literally thousands of questions and some bonus training as well. So let's get straight into it. A user reports that their computer takes a long time to start up and often freezes when multiple programs are open. Which component is most likely causing the issue? The hard drive, the CPU, the RAM, or the power supply? So most likely you don't have enough RAM, right? So if you don't have enough RAM, it's going to make the computer do some weird stuff, slow performance, stuff may crash, stuff may freeze, especially when you're running streaming applications. Like you're trying to watch YouTube, you're trying to play on the game, you're trying to do this, you're trying to do a bunch of different stuff at the same time, trying to edit a video, trying to do this, trying to do that, all at the same time if you don't have a sufficient amount of RAM. You are setting up a new office computer and need to ensure it boots up correctly and recognizes all attached hardware. Which component is responsible for initializing hardware before the OS loads? Is it the GPU? Is it BIOS slash UEFI? Is it C, the hard drive, or is it D, RAM? So for this, it is the BIOS. So the BIOS, or the basic input output system, or UEFI, is what actually looks for the operating system. Where is it at? Is it on a hard drive? Is it on a CD? Is it on a USB drive? Where is the actual operating system? Once it finds the operating system, it boots the operating system, and you can do whatever you want to do. A customer needs a computer that can handle advanced calculations for scientific research. Which component is most important for their needs? High-speed hard drive, B, high core count CPU, C, large capacity RAM, or D, integrated GPU. So one of the biggest things I want to point out to you is when you're taking the exam, make sure you're paying attention to most likely, least likely, most important, so on and so forth. Make sure that you pay attention to all of those types of things. So you should already know if you are doing something that's going to need a lot of processing power, like scientific research, something that's going to be doing a bunch of calculations, something that you want to be quick, you need a high core count CPU. So multiple cores, a bunch of cores to be doing as many processes and handling as much stuff as possible for you, right? All right. An employee's laptop cannot connect to the company Wi-Fi, but other devices are connected fine. What is the first troubleshooting step? Is it A, replace the Wi-Fi router? B, restart the laptop's Wi-Fi adapter? C, contact the ISP? Or D, upgrade the laptop's RAM? What do we think? Another thing is the reason why I'm going through these so quickly, you read it, go through it, blah, blah. The students that's in the Zero to ITO program, I tell them they should be able to read the question, read the answers, and get the correct answer in less than 60 seconds. So we went through maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 questions, and it's been almost 20 minutes, right? So just make sure that you try to get this stuff as quickly as possible and get to the answer. All right, so a lot of times, people, it's memes and shit about this, that restarting stuff usually fixes stuff, right? And it's true. So restarting your adapter resets the network connection and resolves many connectivity issues. All right, you are working remotely and experiencing internet speeds. A test, slow internet speeds. A speed test shows your internet is below expected levels. What should you check first? A, reinstall operating system. B, contact your employer. C, check for bandwidth heavy applications running in the background. Or D, replace the Ethernet cable. What do you think? Let's see. So you want to make sure that you don't have anything hogging up the bandwidth, right? Like I said, got a bunch of open tabs or got something that is just really draining all that bandwidth. So applications like video streaming, cloud backups, or large downloads can slow down internet speeds. That's one of the biggest reasons that at a lot of jobs now, they may block YouTube, they may block Netflix, they may block Twitch, they may block Hulu, like anything that's going to be streaming intensive. They usually, and it's going to hog up bandwidth. They a lot of times just blocked on a corporate network. A small business wants to set up a wired network for faster Ethernet access. Which type of cable should they use? An HDMI, a USB, Ethernet, or coaxial? So for faster Ethernet, there's really only one option on that. You would use faster internet. There's only really one option, Ethernet. So Ethernet cables provide stable, high-speed wired network connections. A manager is unable to open a spreadsheet on their computer. They see a message saying unsupported file type. What should they check first? If the file is corrupt, if the correct software is installed, if the computer has enough RAM, or if the file is too large. So if it says unsupported file type, most likely you don't have the right stuff, right? You don't have the right software on your computer. So the file may require specific stuff like Microsoft, Excel, Adobe, so on and so forth. A user downloads an application from an unknown website. After installation, their computer starts acting sluggish and displaying pop-up ads. What likely happened? The application required a system update, The user installed malware. The application corrupted system files. The user exceeded memory capacity. So, what most likely happened is that you went to a weird website and you got some weird ass malware. So, malware is just short for malicious software. Suspicious applications from unknown sources often contain malware, leading to performance issues. A team needs to collaborate on a presentation in real time while working from different locations. What type of software should they use? A cloud-based collaboration tool, a local word processor, a desktop online PDF editor, or a web browser? What do we think? And a lot of times it's context clues. So you said it says collaborate in the goddamn question. So what do we think it is? If you get this wrong, shame on you and your mama. So, cloud-based collaboration tool. Tools like Google Slides or Microsoft Teams allow multiple users to work on the same document in real time. This helps also for different versions, right? So it'll show that, Jimmy did this and Sarah did that. And also, if somebody makes the wrong changes or changes that we don't like, we'll have multiple versions. So we'll have, a version, the first version, the second version, third version. So we can go back to a version that everybody likes, just in case somebody get in there and get overzealous. All right, the developer needs to write a script that will automate a repetitive data entry task. Which programming language would be most suitable? HTML, Python, Photoshop, or SQL? So for this, most definitely going to be Python. So Python is commonly used for automation due to its simplicity and extensive libraries. Hold on. A company wants to develop a mobile app that works on both iOS and Android. Which approach should they consider? Use a Windows-based framework, develop two separate applications, use a cross-platform development framework, only develop for iOS. So most apps now, they try to have an iOS version, an Android version. Drop in the comments, are you team Android or team iOS? But either or, if you just make an iOS platform, you're losing out on millions of people. If you just do an iOS, vice versa, right? So if you want to create something, you want to make sure that it's cross-platform. So pretty much it's going to be cool on either operating system. An online store needs to store customer data, including names, addresses, and order history. What type of database should they use? File-based storage, spreadsheet, relational database, local text files. So for this, the best thing would be a relational database. So a relational database organizes data into structured tables, making it efficient for storing and retrieving customer info. A company wants to analyze sets of unstructured customer feedback. Which database model is best suited? A relational database, a NoSQL database, an Excel spreadsheet, or a local file storage? So, unlike a relational database that has to relate to different things, a NoSQL database would be best for unstructured data that is kind of all over the place. We're not quite sure, how to categorize it. A user receives an email from their bank asking them to enter login credentials. The email looks suspicious. What type of attack is this? Ransomware, phishing, brute force attack, or a Trojan horse? So for this, it's going to be phishing with a P. So phishing emails are trying to trick users into divulging login information or just personal information that can be used against them, right? Most of the time, banks and financial institutions will tell you, hey, we'll never text you, we'll never email you asking for login credentials, so on and so forth. So just be careful. And a lot of times, if you just can't figure it out, don't know if this is from the bank, one, you can call the bank. Two, you can just log into your account. Now, when I say call the bank, you probably shouldn't call a fucking number that was in the email that they sent to you, right? The scammers or the phishing people. So, phone numbers you can get off of Google. But the easiest thing is just to go into your account, see if there's any messages in there, see if there's any crazy stuff in there. And if it's not, just put that in the spam folder and go from there. All right, a user's passwords was compromised in a data breach. What is the best security measure to prevent future unauthorized access? A, change the password to a new, unique one. B, use the same password across accounts for consistency. C, stop using passwords altogether. D, use only security questions. So the best security practice would be just to create and change your password, right? And believe it or not, so many people use the same passwords or just across multiple platforms. The same password they use for their bank is the same password they use for their OnlyFans, is the same password that they use for their Instagram, right? So you just want to make sure that you change it to a unique one, meaning that that's the password just for that. Why do you think that is? Because when somebody hacks whatever you're using, they're going to whatever they actually got access to, they're going to try that same password across damn near everything that you have. Okay. A company wants to protect its employees from malicious websites. Which solution is most effective? Installing a firewall, implementing a VPN, using an ad blocker, using a spam filter. So the easiest way to make sure that people can't get to malicious websites or certain websites that you don't want them to be on is just installing a firewall. So firewalls help block access to malicious sites and protect users from cyber threats. An employee accidentally clicks a suspicious link and their computer becomes infected with ransomware. What should they do first? Pay the ransom immediately, disconnect the computer from the network, restart the computer, and close all open applications. Another question is, how the hell do you accidentally click a suspicious link? You guys should already know that the answer to this would be disconnect the computer from the network. Why? Because if the system that you own is infected and you keep it connected to the network, it could potentially spread to other parts of the network, other devices, anything that's connected to the network. And ransomware is literally what it sounds like. They put something on your computer, lock something, whether it's some documents or some pictures or something that you want to get a hold of, and they say, hey, if you want access to your computer, send us fill in the blank. A user reports that their computer is making loud noises and randomly shutting down. What is the most likely cause? A low battery, a corrupt operating system, a failing hard drive, or overheating due to a malfunctioning cooling fan? What do we think? So usually if your computer is making loud noises and shutting down out of nowhere, it's a fail safe because the computer is overheating, right? So the device is overheating, and just so the CPU doesn't melt and blow the damn computer up, it's going to turn off completely, right? It usually shuts down so it doesn't overheat and really jack everything up. A company needs to store customer records securely and allow employees to access them efficiently. What type of storage is best? An external drive, cloud storage, USB flash drive, or CD/DVD? So you should already know that the answer for this is cloud storage. Cloud storage provides accessibility, security, and backup options for customer records. Got a quick story for you. One of the places that I frequent, there was a guy outside the place, and he was selling CDs, right? And it baffled me. I said, "Why the hell are you selling CDs?" He said, "Well, that's what I do." He was a rapper, he was a rapper, and I was like, you should start, at least handing out USB drives, or get on SoundCloud, or get on Spotify or something. Like, you like, this doesn't make sense. He's like, what you mean? I'm like, where's somebody gonna play this shit at? I don't have a CD player in my car. I don't have no CD on my damn lap. I don't if somebody give me a CD, it might have the goddamn uh directions to a pot of gold. I wouldn't be able to find the shit because I don't have nowhere to play a CD. Anyway, that was a long story. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Anyway, let's go and go to the next thing. All right. So a user is typing on their laptop, but some keys are unresponsive. What should they do first? Should they restart the computer? Should they check for keyboard debris or dust? Should they update the operating system? Or D, replace the laptop battery? What do we think? Now, a lot of you that are fans of Doritos and eating syrup sandwiches and shit, you need to make sure that your keyboard is clean, right? Make sure your keyboard is clean, because if not, you won't be able to use it, because physical obstructions like dust can cause keyboard keys to stop working, to start sticking, and just acting weird. A new employee's computer cannot connect to the company network, but other devices are connected fine. What should they check first? If the Ethernet cable is plugged in correctly, if the hard drive is formatted, if the screen brightness is high enough, or D, if the printer is connected. The first thing you should try always is the physical connections. So just make sure, okay, let me make sure that I'm actually connected to the internet. Let me connect that and then go from there. Keep on doing your troubleshooting steps. A remote employee is experiencing frequent Wi-Fi disconnections. What is the first troubleshooting step? Should you restart their router and modem? Should you call the ISP immediately? Should you reinstall the operating system or install more RAM? So the first thing you should do is simple. We talked about this earlier. So restart the router and modem. So just remember, we actually in the exam, right? There's going to be questions that correlate with each other, right? So if you go through what I just told you, I don't know, 15 minutes ago about, hey, you should be able to decipher this information quickly. A lot of times, as you go through the actual exam, certain themes, certain questions, certain concepts are going to come up again, and hopefully it sparks, oh, okay, that's what they were talking about, and then you can go back and do it. But anyway, resetting and restarting resets the connection and often resolves temporary network issues. An office is upgrading to a high-speed fiber optic internet connection. Which type of network cable will they use? If you get this wrong, you're a goddamn dummy. So if they upgrade into fiber optic, they got to use a fiber optic cable. So fiber optic cables are way faster than Ethernet cables, and they allow you to have high-speed connections with little interference. A user needs to edit a PDF document but cannot make any changes. What software should they use? Should they use a music player? Should they use a spreadsheet application? Should they use a PDF editing application? Or should they use a web browser? A PDF editing application. PDF editors like Adobe Acrobat allow users to modify and save PDF files. An employee's computer prompts them to update their operating system, but they are unsure if they should. What is the best recommendation? A, ignore the update. B, proceed with the updates for security and performance improvements. C, uninstall the operating system. D, delete all files first. So out of these options, the best thing would be to proceed with the updates and to improve security and performance improvements, right? A lot of times, if your computer starts acting crazy, starts acting weird, especially if you're on Windows, it's a lot of times you just need to do an update. Stuff will start acting really weird if you don't have the right patches and updates installed. A user wants to install an application, but is prompted for an administrator password. Why is this happening? The software is outdated. The user does not have administrator privileges. The computer needs more RAM, or the application is too large. So this is simple. You just don't have admin privileges, right? So while we're here, everybody, like the janitor, the maid, the person that work in a food court, the random motherfucker that just shows up from time to time. Everybody shouldn't have admin privileges, right? Everybody shouldn't have admin privileges. Only people should have admin privileges are most likely the people that work in the tech team and in the tech department. Anybody else shouldn't really need admin privileges to stuff that can have changes and can affect stuff company wide, right? That's a lazy way of doing stuff. If you give somebody admin privileges, you got to deal with the consequences of whatever the hell they do. All right. A business wants to create a website with interactive features like animations and real time updates. Which programming language is best? JavaScript, Python, SQL, or assembly? So for this, you would use a JavaScript just for interactive features, right? That's what you would use for your website. A programmer is debugging an error in their code but can't find the issue. What is the best step to take next? Rewrite the entire program, use a debugging tool to locate the error, restart the computer, or increase the computer's storage. So this one is easy. Use a debugging tool. Now it doesn't always, fix all the errors. It doesn't always show you everything that's wrong, but it can give you a place to start and more of a template on, okay, these things may be messed up, or, give you the areas that you need to pay attention to fix things. A company is crediting, or that's not what that says. A company is creating an app and wants to store user data efficiently. What database type should they use? We already talked about this. Relational database, plain text files, image storage, or USB flash drive. So stuff with email addresses, home addresses, phone numbers. A relational database would be really good to have organized structure for different applications, just to know, customer information, so on and so forth. A small business needs a database that allows multiple employees to update customers' orders simultaneously. What type of database should they use? A local spreadsheet, a relational database with cloud access, handwritten logs, or USB storage. So, to allow multiple employees to update stuff simultaneously, we would definitely use cloud access, right? So, simultaneously, somebody's on the first floor, somebody's on the second floor, somebody's in Chicago. Everybody can be working on that together as long as they have an internet connection. An online retailer notices incorrect product prices on their website. What should they check first? Database entries, Wi-Fi connection, operating system updates, or printer settings? So a lot of times when it goes to websites or comes to websites, they're pulling information from a database. So if you got the wrong information in your database, it's going to make the wrong stuff pop up. And that's damn sure a no bueno. If something costs $10,000 on your website, but the database says $10, that's going to be no good. An employer receiving an email that appears to be from their manager asking for log on credentials. What should they do? Reply with the credentials immediately, call the manager to verify the request, click the email link to see where it goes, or ignore all emails. What do we think? So the easiest thing would just be to call the manager to verify emails. All right, next up. A company wants to protect sensitive customer data on employee computers. What is the best method? A, enable two-factor authentication. B, store all passwords in a shared document. C, delete all customer data after each interaction. Or D, share login credentials among employees. All right, so for this, it's definitely going to be sharing or enabling two-factor authentication. It's just going to add an extra layer of security. All right, we got one more. Oh, no, we got a couple more. All right, so an employee clicks a suspicious link and the computer becomes unresponsive. What should they do first? We already ran into this. You better get this right. Disconnect from Ethernet or the internet, restart the computer, contact HR, or ignore it. So we already know we're supposed to disconnect from the internet. So gang, this is the end. If you want practice questions that are a lot harder than these, this is just pretty much just something to ramp you up, just something to help you out, just to see where you are. You can click the link in the description and it'll take you directly over there. You can get 4,000 practice questions for 4 different exams, the most popular exams in the industry. Other than that, I'll see you in class.